20 rejections. Not an exaggeration, not a rough patch. By the time he was old enough to understand what dating actually meant, this kid had already been shot down 20 separate times. Every confession ended the exact same way. Tears, screaming, and a girl looking at him like he'd just offered her a dead insect. It broke something inside him, so he did the only thing that made sense. He locked himself in his room, sat in the dark, and invented an imaginary friend named Jason. Jason became his therapist, his sounding board, the one guy who wouldn't call him pathetic for crying into his pillow. And one day, Jason had a brilliant idea. What if the boy just stopped seeing girls as girls? What if instead of people with the power to humiliate him, they were just rocks, stones, inanimate objects that couldn't hurt him? The boy latched onto that idea like a lifeline. He trained his mind relentlessly, repeating the same mantra for years. Women are stones. Women are stones. By the time elementary school rolled around, the conditioning was so deep that when he looked at a female classmate, he literally saw a walking, talking piece of granite. It was the perfect defense mechanism. Now, back in the present, a voice pulls our protagonist from his thoughts. The rock-faced classmate asks if he's free after class, revealing a strong desire to study together. He just reminds himself that a smile or an invitation doesn't mean romantic feelings. So the student simply declines, says he's busy that day, and walks away, leaving her behind. Next, a very muscular, mustached man calmly lifts weights in a gym. At that moment, the protagonist says goodbye to his classmates, realizing that seeing girls as rocks has made interacting with them much more peaceful. He can walk hallways surrounded by stone heads, chatting without feelings disrupting his routine. He looks to the side, seeking confirmation of his grand theory, calmly talking to his imaginary partner. Jason is now that super muscular, mustached man sitting proudly on the boy's shoulder. The young man mentions a slight concern that things might stay this way forever, preventing him from ever getting a girlfriend. But his buff friend quickly reminds him they gave up on that love life long ago, and the student agrees. He'd rather be alone 1,000 times than hear painful rejections again. Admitting this isolated way is much more comfortable. His friend agrees with the peace of mind as the boy keeps walking, not even noticing a cell phone slip and fall to the ground nearby. Suddenly, a voice surprises him, and he quickly turns to see who spoke. A delicate hand firmly holds the fallen cell phone, offering it back. The person who picked it up is a very mysterious girl standing right in front of our distracted protagonist. She calmly asks if the phone belongs to him, holding out the device. The young man is completely speechless hearing her voice and just stares in pure surprise. His eyes widen absurdly as he realizes something completely impossible right before him. The beautiful student tucks her long hair behind her ear, looking confused. Unable to understand the boy's great shock, he realizes he has a terrible problem. It's been absurdly long since he last saw a girl's real face. Breaking into a cold sweat of desperation, the student tries desperately to stay calm and think quickly. The girl's expression changes, and she demands an immediate answer, wanting to know why he's silent. Pure panic takes over as a large drop of sweat rolls down his chin, showing all his nervousness. Completely beside himself, our hero accidentally blurts out that the girl is very beautiful. He freezes instantly, eyes wide, realizing the huge blunder of saying that out of the blue to a stranger. The dark-haired girl turns very red, showing a surprised expression at the totally unexpected compliment. Desperate over his embarrassment, he quickly snatches the cell phone from her hand, leaving her totally confused. The protagonist decides to flee, taking off running across the courtyard. Shouting a thank you followed by an apology, the girl stands there alone, wondering what on earth just happened with that super weird guy. He continues running as fast as possible, holding the phone tightly, scolding himself for calling a stranger beautiful out of nowhere. He panics, imagining the whole school will start a rumor about him. After all this running, we see the exterior of the large apartment building where our nervous teenager lives. The imaginary partner tries to console the boy, thinking the gesture was actually a cute and smooth move. But the protagonist remains crushed on his bedroom floor, and the buff guy tries to cheer him up, telling him not to be so hard on himself. He finds the situation very strange and questions himself deeply, trying to understand why that specific girl didn't look like a rock. The buff ghost confesses he doesn't know the answer either, then asks the student what the next step is. The fearful boy worries that if he lets things be, a scary rumor will definitely start circulating. He recalls the disgusted looks from his past, rejections, and is overcome with horrible fear that it will all happen again. The teenager cries his heart out, saying after investing years in heavy mental training, he still had to go through such embarrassment. True to his dramatic nature, the young man curls up, hugging his knees, declaring his precious school life ruined forever. Completely tired of the crying and drama, the imaginary advisor delivers a powerful, invisible punch right to his face. Miraculously, the punch actually hurts, and the strong man orders the boy to cool his head and think of a plan instead of freaking out. The boy concludes that even though he doesn't know why the spell failed, he just needs to avoid running into her. He calms down, remembering the girl is in a different class, so the chances of bumping into her daily would be practically zero. With this incredible strategy, he decides the perfect plan is to never see the pretty young woman again to avoid more trouble. The very next day, the school building appears illuminated by the strong morning sun, but contrary to all his hopes, the beautiful long-haired student appears out of nowhere next to a stone-faced friend and comes to greet our hero. The poor protagonist freezes with a dumbfounded look, realizing his genius plan went straight down the drain. His friend suggests staying calm and trying to talk naturally with the girls, but the pretty girl starts laughing, chatting happily with her rock-faced friend. The protagonist overhears the stone-faced classmate comment that he was the weird guy from the day before. The two friends chat excitedly in the hallway while the boy stands nearby listening. Completely confused, the student adjusts his glasses, trying to process that gossip. Suddenly, the beautiful young woman approaches with a teasing smile and asks if she looks pretty today too. Speechless, the boy remains silent while the stone-faced friend laughs, calling his reaction funny. Overcome by panic, the young man turns his back and runs off down the hallway, leaving the beautiful student confused. The buff friend praises his quick action, stating another second would have made things worse. As he runs, the boy tries to convince himself the girl's laughter was just her making fun of him. He continues fleeing through the hallways, unwilling to accept the shame. Left behind, the dark-haired student shows she is genuinely concerned about the boy's bizarre reaction. Soon time passes quickly, showing a beautiful view of the blue sky near the end of classes. The hero walks with his head down through the courtyard full of stone-faced female students. When he notices the pretty girl up ahead, the beautiful young woman notices him and quickly turns with a gentle smile to greet him, but he goes into defense mode immediately, walking fast to escape without a word. He turns away, walking right past her, rudely ignoring her completely, even using his hand to hide his face as he flees. The young woman becomes visibly annoyed, scowling at the weird rejection. Walking through the streets, the boy sighs with relief, telling his partner he needs a plan. He feels exhausted from the drama and sadly reflects on how his quiet life came to this. But suddenly, the annoyed girl appears, scowling and calling his attention with a scary voice. The boy gets a huge scare seeing her appear out of nowhere in the middle of the street, screaming in pure shock. Desperate, he wonders internally why he always bumps into her and how he needs to avoid her. The student glares at him up close, questioning with great frustration if the scaredy cat is going to run away again. She gets closer, complaining it's unbelievable that every time she tries to be polite, he responds with coldness. Then she points to herself, wanting to know if she made some serious mistake to deserve that treatment. Completely cornered, the hero steps back. The young woman states his actions are weird. The student breaks into a cold sweat, realizing he created another huge misunderstanding, trying to come up with a good excuse. The beautiful student stares judgmentally, waiting for him to explain his reasons for running away. In the chaos, the boy tries to invent a false reason while she crosses her arms, wanting answers. Face to face in the late afternoon, the young man ends up confessing that all other girls look like rocks except for her. The girl hears that unexpected confession, her eyes widening, staying completely silent as she absorbs his words. The protagonist freezes the exact second he realizes the absurd sentence he blurted out. The buff partner shakes his head, disappointed with the boy's social skills. The beautiful student focuses her eyes on him with a very serious expression, leaving huge suspense in the air. Not knowing what to do, the protagonist's hand starts shaking uncontrollably. He's sweating buckets, trembling with fear, waiting for her to get angry and start yelling. But to everyone's surprise, her delicate lips curve slightly, forming a small smile. The young woman shows a sweet expression, smiling openly, finding that nervous confession charming. She steps toward the frightened boy and asks for his name, making him stutter his answer. The student raises her delicate hands, pulling the hero by his tie, bringing them very close. With a charming look, she speaks softly, telling him his mysterious phrase about stones was clearly a pickup line. The young man's face loses all color, standing in pure shock, unable to process what he just heard. We then see a childhood memory, where the imaginary advisor gave the little boy golden rules to avoid getting hurt. The first lesson was to treat everyone like stones, but the memory of a student waving indicates a flaw. The second rule ordered him to never get his hopes up, his hand gripping his shirt tightly, but his heart beats uncontrollably and he turns red, proving this rule broken. His mind wanders far away, creating a long imaginary movie where they date, marry, have children, and grow old together. The buff friend gets irritated with the premature illusion and gives the boy a huge punch in the face to bring him back. Back in his room, the student caresses his bruised face, concluding losing his mind after years without seeing girls make sense. He sits on the floor, confessing to the buff guy that running away is no longer an option and he urgently needs a plan. The imaginary partner points his finger, replying that in emergencies, the most important thing is to have a target. The mental advisor explains that treating women like rocks made the boy stop feeling anything, even with a girl right in front of him. Because of this, the hero stayed stayed calm for years and never felt the pain of rejection again. But everything changed when the beautiful student appeared out of nowhere, not looking like a rock and causing a terrible side effect. The strong man concludes the boy has zero immunity to female faces, bringing out his most awkward side. The young man agrees, fearing he'll suffer all over again, while his friend states there is a way out. The muscular ghost's main plan is for the boy to just keep his composure and act naturally around the girl. We then see the outside of the school lit by the strong sun, another busy morning. The student appears, making a very weird, forced look of disgust as he tries to put the new strategy into practice. Meanwhile, the beautiful dark-haired student stares at the bizarre behavior, looking visibly confused, breaking into a cold sweat. A friend of hers notices and excitedly comments the boy was staring at her, finding his scary look funny. The boy questions the ghost about the desensitization plan, asking why he's so huddled on his shoulder. The buff friend explains the mission is to look until he gets used to her face, asking him to at least try to smile. Our hero cracks a terrifying, completely scary smile, thinking he's killing it with that bizarre face. The beautiful girl gets even more scared by the hideous smile, unable to hide her discomfort, sweating nervously. But her classmate gets super excited, thinking it's romantic, while the boy continues standing there smiling. The young woman asks her friend if the boy thought she couldn't see him staring, since he was so obvious. Trembling, the student deduces the distance prevented her from seeing his face, admitting he's very uncomfortable. The mental partner tells him to turn his back so people don't get the wrong idea, and the boy quickly agrees. The dark-haired student just watches him walk away with a thoughtful, curious expression. Her friend then asks if she knew that guy, quickly stating he's actually a very popular student among the girls. Surprised by the gossip, the beautiful young woman listens as her classmate reveals several other female students have tried talking to him before. However, the mysterious boy always seemed to have not the slightest interest in any girl. His cold way of ignoring everyone ironically made the girls much more interested. Then the young woman questions if her friend is curious precisely because the boy stared at her so intensely. The beautiful student quickly plays it down, denying direct interest, claiming it's just a silly detail. We see a brief flashback to the previous afternoon when they met by chance on the street during sunset. She gives a charming smile, finger on her lip, and confesses that something about his attitude got stuck in her mind. Later, the scene cuts to the classroom, where the boy calls out for his imaginary partner seeking help. The protagonist stays at the back, confessing to the buff guy that the more he thinks about it, the worse the staring plan seems. The goal was to look at her until he gets used to her face, but he'd have to keep following her. The boy realizes this bizarre tactic is exactly what a stalker would do, making the situation even worse. The buff advisor notes the dilemma between looking like a weirdo or a stalker. Not knowing what to do, but the student has a brilliant idea, finding the girl's social media to look at her photos instead. The strongman loves the strategy, giving a thumbs up, encouraging his partner to go ask the beautiful young woman for her contact info directly. Shocked, the boy thinks asking in person is absurd, but soon realizes investigating secretly would be even creepier. In the hallway, our hero finally musters the courage and holds out his phone, asking for the girl's contact info very shyly. The beautiful girl listens, totally surprised, then gives a cute smile and agrees. She tells him to open the app so she can type her name, and the boy obeys immediately. The young woman takes the device, typing her username with quick little fingers, looking focused, but suddenly she stops, making a shocked expression upon noticing a detail on the screen. The boy's profile was completely empty, no posts following absolutely no one. The girl looks at him and asks with a big smile if he just created that account right then. The student breaks into a cold sweat, trying to justify he doesn't use social media, saying he made the profile. In a hurry, fearing he did something wrong, the long-haired student bursts out laughing hard at her classmate's hasty action. She points at him, concluding teasingly he ran to find her the exact second he created the profile. The young man freezes, eyes wide, realizing the embarrassing situation. Overcome by extreme shock, our protagonist freaks out internally. His rush to achieve his goal made him ignore that big detail. The beautiful student keeps laughing, finding it hilarious, while the boy despairs at his own stupidity. The muscular ghost cries, sweating buckets, declaring it's the end of the line. The boy starts to tremble and stutter, making up that she was just the first person he saw. We see a close-up of the girl's lips as she continues smiling, having fun with his nervousness. The student agrees in a playful tone, trying to calm the poor boy, who still has a look of pure terror. She leans her body, revealing the phone screen with her own number, and asks alluringly if he isn't curious. We see a focus on the boy's glasses, white and empty, indicating his soul has left his body. His mouth opens slightly, showing his mind's complete short circuit after that big flirtation. The young woman gives him a light punch on the chest, laughing again, revealing it was just a joke and loving his funny reactions. She returns the device, saying she already followed him back, and the boy takes the phone in a deep trance. The beautiful girl walks away down the hallway, asking him to like her posts a lot while the hero remains frozen. The episode ends with the student totally pale and defeated, unable to believe the whole crazy thing. We see his mind imagining a whole life with the girl, marriage, getting old together, but his imaginary friend scolds him, telling him to stop creating those romantic movies in his head. The scene cuts to a night view of a large apartment building. The beautiful student appears lying on her stomach on her bed in pajamas, calmly scrolling her cell phone. She starts laughing a lot, finding something on the screen extremely funny. The reason is the scary photo the boy just posted as his first profile picture. Meanwhile, our protagonist was trying to sleep in his dark room when his phone screen suddenly lit up. To his shock, the notifications showed the most beautiful girl in school had liked his bizarre photo. A large like balloon rises up the building, showing this small gesture would be enough to keep the boy awake. The next day, the beautiful young woman's friend asks, surprised, if the weirdo guy really asked for her contact info. The beautiful student confirms the story, laughing. Finding it cute, he created a brand new account just for that. Her classmate remains curious, sitting on the desk next to her to understand the situation better. She asks if it's really true the boy isn't interested in girls and only acts nervous with her friend. The dark-haired young woman watches him pass in the hallway and starts deducing the theory could be real. She gives a mischievous smile, suggesting a little test to find out if it's true. Soon, our hero is startled by a loud noise in the hallway, stopping to check the situation. The pretty girl's friend tests him by pretending she fell, acting very helpless. She makes a sad face, wanting his help getting up from the cold floor. But the protagonist looks her up and down with a completely empty, uninterested gaze. To no one's surprise, the boy sees the fallen classmate as just a simple rock with legs. With a look of disgust, he lifts the rock girl up by her blouse without the slightest care or affection. After that, he turns his back and walks away, scrolling on his phone, leaving the girl totally shocked. The rejected girl freezes, feeling the worst humiliation of her life while hearing her best friend's laughter. The beautiful student can't hold back, laughing hard, seeing the boy lift her friend like pulling a radish. Visibly irritated, the humiliated girl curses him, realizing he's really totally insensitive towards women. The scene moves to the school exterior during dismissal. The muscular partner asks if the young man got used to her face after creating the social media account. The student gets a scare, his cheeks turning very red just remembering her beauty. He admires a photo on his phone, confessing his heart always races like the first time seeing her. The imaginary friend becomes thoughtful, deducing they need to find the real reason behind this major system failure. The boy agrees, wanting to understand exactly why that specific girl is the only one who doesn't turn into a stone. Suddenly, the young man freezes in the middle of the street. His ghost advisor warns the girl is right there. The beautiful student leans against the school wall with an apprehensive look, seeming to hide some problem. She notices our protagonist and fixes her stunning eyes on the scared boy. His heart pounds. He tries to act normal while the young woman sighs and calls his attention. The poor student loses his composure, feeling very small, sweating from pure nervousness. She questions why he's standing there, and he quickly replies he needs to catch the bus home. She asks where he lives, staring curiously. He says the name of his condo, and she notes you could easily walk there, making him feel awkward. She gives a gentle smile, continuing to look intently at his sweaty, nervous face. With flushed cheeks, the beautiful student makes up an excuse about suffering from chronic anemia. Worried, the innocent boy quickly takes out his wallet, trying to offer all his money to help. She slaps his hand, telling him she doesn't want his money, but for him to walk her home. The young woman runs ahead, calling for him to accompany her, leaving no way out. The student feels struck by a huge lightning bolt, a look of pure panic on his face. The muscular ghost tries to calm his nerves as the beautiful sunset takes over the sky. They walk side by side, the girl chatting nonstop in a lively, relaxed manner, but our hero grips his backpack straps tightly, trembling all over from being so close to a beautiful girl. The young woman keeps smiling happily, and the boy thinks walking with her is extremely sudden. He breaks into a cold sweat, his whole body tense and rigid. A past memory emerges, showing him as a child walking with a little girl. Other classmates made fun of them, joking they were dating. The little girl would get furious, deny the rumors in tears, leaving the little boy confused. The great pain came when she shouted, rejecting the idea, stating she would never date a boy like him. After that sad episode, she never walked with him again, and the young boy was left with a completely broken heart. Returning to reality, the boy confesses he's very uncomfortable, afraid of going through that great pain again. He hopes this situation ends soon, deciding he will never walk so close to her again. However, our protagonist gets a big scare hearing a strange noise from his lovely companion. The beautiful student collapses on the ground, super exhausted, breathless, calling his name. The student runs hastily to her, trying to find out if she tripped. The girl is out of breath, sweating, complaining about the hill. Remembering her chronic anemia, she holds out her delicate hand, asking for help to walk, and the boy promptly agrees. He holds her hand carefully, asking her to take it easy, but she puts her hand on her head, complaining of dizziness. while the hero looks visibly worried. She lets out a long sigh, seeming really exhausted and weak. The protagonist turns back, questioning what exactly the girl was trying to do. He remembers how he treated the other classmate, lifting her like a radish, and feels bad. The young woman can't handle it and starts laughing, finding that memory incredibly funny. She points at him, joking about how he lifted the rock girl, leaving the boy in complete shock and despair. Embarrassed, the student tries changing the subject, saying they've arrived and should say goodbye. The beautiful girl waves excitedly, thanking him for the company while he shyly says goodbye. The boy sighs in relief for surviving, confessing that moment was the most uncomfortable of his life. Holding his backpack straps firmly, he assures himself a situation like this will never happen again. We see him walking alone toward his building, the sun calmly setting. The two students go their separate ways on the quiet street, marking the end of that long, tense encounter. But suddenly, the beautiful girl stops walking, opening her mouth slightly, remembering an important detail. She quickly turns with a surprised expression, quietly commenting she almost forgot something. She shouts the boy's name from a distance, making him jump in fright and freeze. The hero looks back very tense, hearing her say it will still be a while before she gets her allowance. She gets very close with a teasing smile, saying she's counting on his help the next day. His face becomes very tense, sweating a lot as he listens to the breathless girl complaining of dizziness after running. The imaginary advisor appears sitting thoughtfully, saying he's very curious. He notices the boy's love-struck expression and questions that strange look. Snapped out of his romantic trance, the student adjusts his glasses, returning to reality. He panics seeing the beautiful girl on the ground, panting heavily, seeming unwell, under the beautiful late afternoon sky. The hero scolds her for running, telling her to sit down and be calm. The next day, the girl's friend practices kicks in the air near the lockers, vowing to beat up the protagonist. The muscular ghost appears shirtless, complaining about the heat, questioning why the girl doesn't look like a rock as she sits seriously on the floor. The hero reflects deeply, trying to understand why only she is different. We see his spacious room, he and his mental partner sitting on the floor, trying to solve the mystery. The student gets a determined look, showing he won't give up finding an answer. But all that confidence disappears. He just stutters confusedly, not knowing how to continue. The strong man also has no idea, admitting he can't think of any more theories. Determined not to waste time, the boy grabs his backpack, saying they should get to school right away. He opens his bedroom door, walks down the hallway, ready for another long day of studies. He continues with a low, thoughtful gaze until surprised by a voice asking if he's leaving. He lifts his head face to face with his own father, standing in the living room, staring seriously. Awkward and shy, the young man bows respectfully, quietly wishing him a good morning. The father asks if he's eaten, and the student confesses he planned to skip breakfast, not hungry. With a sad look, the man says his mother prepared stew, and the boy promises to eat it when he gets back from school. The older man walks toward the fan, demanding the boy eat, and the son obeys. The atmosphere a bit tense. Our hero holds his backpack strap, looking anxious, and finally says he's leaving. His eyes show enormous mental fatigue, revealing he's not handling the pressure well. Outside the huge school building appears as the young man mentally discusses a theory with his partner. With a defeated posture, he laments feeling his destiny is now to be dragged around by the girl for the rest of the year. We see his white shoe stepping firmly as he prays the theory is wrong. Suddenly, a mysterious voice calls his name in the courtyard, and he turns his head instantly, looking scared. The rock-faced friend, humiliated the day before, stands before him with her arms crossed and a furious aura. Eyes full of hatred, she promises to beat him up to avenge the past. Completely lost, the student looks in disbelief, questioning the reason for the threat. The angry girl claims she trained her, kicks all night just to hurt him, leaving him perplexed. She recalls the scene where she threw herself on the floor asking for help, crying with rage, declaring she's never been so humiliated. The bizarre memory resurfaces, and the young woman states she will never forgive his cold attitude. With an air of superiority, she holds up 3 fingers, warning she'll only give 3 strikes, telling him to prepare. The hero still doesn't understand the hatred, stammering confusedly in the face of imminent danger. Without giving him time to defend himself, the girl delivers a very strong kick to his shin, making him scream in pain. The poor student limps away, running through the courtyard in total desperation while she clenches her fists to chase him. Focused on revenge, the girl runs swiftly after him, boasting she doesn't suffer from anemia. During the intense chase, the boy glances back, observing his enemy, but her expression disappears, revealing he saw her only as a huge, furious rock running after him. The escape ends quickly, the boy sweating coldly, gritting his teeth in pure terror. The furious student appears right beside him, announcing she finally captured him. Without wasting time, she jumps high, preparing a big kick. Completely desperate, the student screams loudly, trying to continue his swift escape. The beautiful dark-haired young woman woman, finds the screaming in the hallway strange. But by a terrible accident, the vengeful girl's kick hits the beautiful student squarely. With the unexpected impact, her eyes widen in pain. The attacker realizes her huge mistake, standing completely paralyzed with shock. The poor girl falls to the ground, holding her ankle, while her friend screams her name. The hero stops running, turning around totally shocked. Trying to help, the boy tragically slips on his own flip-flop. He flies far, landing face first on the ground in front of his friend, who is even more shocked. The terrible fall breaks his nose, and he lies there on the cold floor in pain. We then see the two injured students lying in the hallway under the perplexed gaze of the troublemaker girl. Not knowing what to do, the student stands trembling and awkward in the chaos. Soon time passes, and we see the sign for the quiet infirmary. The boy and the beautiful classmate share the same recovery space, lying on neighboring beds. She tries to break the tension, saying her friend is weird, but she's fine. Sweating nervously, the poor boy whispers, asking his mental partner for help. But the strong man just relaxes, sipping tea, telling him not to let shyness win. Completely abandoned, the student swallows hard, feeling immense tension. The beautiful dark-haired student stares thoughtfully at the ceiling. She then turns her head with a sweet smile, asking what's for lunch that day. Hiding his panic, he answers about the food, and she celebrates loving the menu. The conversation flows. She asks about breakfast, leaving him surprised. She sadly confides about a difficult relationship with her father in the mornings. The boy advises her to improve things with her family, and she agrees, laughing. The hero remembers a strange action by the aggressive girl in the past. A memory of that disastrous hallway flirtation invades his mind, leaving him thoughtful. He reflects that his unexpected confession seemed caused by pure impulse and a need for attention. Back in the present, the wonderful young woman continues staring deeply at the injured boy. With unique charm, she teases him, wanting to know if he thinks she's too beautiful. In pure shock, he sits up, waving his hands while she laughs hard. With a racing heart, he apologizes profusely, and she says it was just a joke. She sits on the edge of the bed, revealing she loves provoking his shy reactions. They talk face to face, the boy sweating, trying to understand the hint. The young woman has fun explaining how weird he gets under pressure, making him give a forced smile. She can't resist that bizarre face, letting out a big laugh that brightens the infirmary. With an extremely charming smile, she states with absolute certainty that he is very cute. Hit squarely by the compliment, the boy shrinks his shoulders and blushes intensely. The scene changes to the student's room, where he and his mental partner debate new theories. The strong man makes a slightly surprised expression hearing the boy's romantic ideas. The hero clings to the memory of seeing his classmate happy and laughing while talking closely with him. With his tea, the muscular giant decrees there's no better explanation for all that magic. We see again the bright memory of the infirmary where they shared sweet moments. Time moves forward, showing the entire school under a strong sun. The young man recalls his thoughtless action holding the feisty student by the arms, trying to stop her. In the memory, the beautiful student appears super irritated, demanding he let go of her friend immediately. Focused on revenge, the young woman runs in a fury, screaming with a scary aura. With an impressive leap, the beautiful girl delivers a kick, knocking both classmates to the ground. Thrown backward, the hero is lost in the crazy hallway fight. He gets up shortly after, facing his classmate, looking very shaken. The wonderful student turns her back, calmly placing hands on her hips, but she looks at him from the corner of her eye, throwing cruel words about his grand romantic illusions. Without pity, the classmate brutally scorns him, calling him a loser before leaving. Waking up in shock, the poor boy discovers it was all a terrible nightmare. Sweating and panting, the pajama-clad student tries to process the terror. The buff advisor, also in pajamas, observes his partner's pitiful state. The ghost deduces the boy is haunted by the terrible fear of being rejected by the beautiful young woman. Sitting depressed, the hero sadly agrees his old traumas are coming back with a vengeance. He confesses he's been having this same nightmare repeatedly, and his friend asks since when. The advisor deduces it started right when they came up with the love at first sight theory. The imaginary partner concludes that if this idea is real, the boy has unrequited love, making him realize all that bad feeling in his chest is just pure fear. The muscular man gives a thumbs up, suggesting knowing the enemy is the key to victory. At school, the student walks with his small partner, deciding to learn more about the beautiful student. He realizes he knows almost nothing about her and agrees this new strategy is good. Our hero arrives at class number 5, confirming it's her classroom. Trembling, he peeps through the open door while his partner tells him to stay calm. He observes, trying to find her among the stone-faced students, but adjusts his glasses, noticing she's not there. The ghost suggests looking in the restroom. Suddenly, a mysterious voice catches his attention. He turns his head to see a very chubby student with glasses telling the protagonist he's in front of his desk. The hero's face goes blank, not understanding. He apologizes, moving out of the way, and the big guy bumps into him with an attitude. The muscular ghost scowls, feeling a strong urge to punch the rude classmate. The young man takes the opportunity to ask if the chubby guy has seen the beautiful student. The big boy adjusts adjusts his glasses smugly, saying that kind of thing always happens. He claims to be used to silly boys going after girls of exactly that type. Hearing those words makes our hero have an expression of total disgust. The ghost pulls out a huge machine gun, irritated, while the boy tells him to calm down. Holding back his anger, the student forces a friendly demeanor, asking again about the pretty girl's whereabouts. The rude student turns his head, replying he doesn't know where a girl who tells so many lies would be. The protagonist's face immediately darkens, forbidding the big guy from speaking ill of their classmate. The chubby guy gives a mocking laugh, noticing the hero is really very much in love. Completely furious, the young man takes off his school jacket, telling him to get up. The cocky boy adjusts his glasses, starting to get up, complaining about the effort. Without thinking twice, the student throws his jacket with all his might at the rude guy's face. The surprise attack hits squarely, making the big guy lose his balance backward. The force breaks the buttons on his dress shirt, creating a ridiculous scene. The rude guy falls to the floor, huge belly exposed, suffering great embarrassment. At that exact moment, the beautiful student arrives at the door, laughing and asking what's happening. She's surprised to see the protagonist, with the blouse in his hand, next to the huge classmate on the floor. The hero tries to justify himself, yelling he was defending her from the chubby guy's horrible words. With a gentle smile, she tells him to ignore it. The boy always acts that way. Confused, the young man questions why, while the big guy just laughs hard. The young woman winks, smiling cutely, saying the big guy has always been like that since childhood. She reveals the two are actually great childhood friends, surprising the boy. The scene changes to a beautiful view of the blue sky full of clouds. Sitting in the courtyard, the hero apologizes for the aggression, and the chubby guy claims it didn't even hurt much. The protagonist tries starting a conversation, asking if they were friends since they were very little. Excited, he thinks this is the perfect chance to learn more about her, but the big guy's expression changes, warning that if he likes the girl, he'd better give up soon. The classmate explains the young woman is very popular, with an army of boys after her. However, he reveals absolutely none of them had any success. Our hero confesses he's not surprised, as she has thousands of followers online. He deduces maybe the suitors just weren't her type, maintaining a glimmer of hope. But the chubby guy says in a mysterious tone, the real reason to give up is far from that. Beginning a long explanation, he recalls their childhood, showing how close they've always been. They always studied in the same places and grew up playing together. Back in the hallway, we see the back of the beautiful student walking, called by him. The big guy raises his hand, greeting his friend, rudely asking her to buy him bread. However, her reaction upon hearing the request leaves the boy confused and surprised. The beautiful young woman turns her head with an extremely disturbing, scary look, calling his name. The chubby guy narrates that his friend was still smiling, but she seemed a completely different, macabre person. He finishes the story, saying after that day her attitudes became very strange. The classmate reinforces his warning, asking the boy again to forget this silly romance. We see the large school structure as our protagonist tries to digest the craziness. Walking in the hallway, the boy wonders what that weird feeling could be, since he never noticed anything. The student decides it's better to ignore this, as it's just a classmate's opinion. The big guy adjusts his glasses, noticing someone approaching from behind the protagonist. To the boy's terror, the beautiful student appears hand in hand with her friend, wanting to know what the conversation was about. Completely frozen, he breaks into a cold sweat, thinking he should never reveal the truth. But the chubby classmate spills everything, claiming they were talking bad about her. Hearing this betrayal, our hero enters total panic, a look of pure shock. The huge student makes a mocking face, proud of causing chaos. The beautiful young woman just smiles, asking if the two boys are close enough to walk together. They stand side by side, the student trembling with fear. The big guy repeats the offense with conviction, reinforcing they spoke ill of her. And the poor protagonist's face contorts in despair, realizing his school life is over. Seen from above, confusion takes over the hallway, the girl staring silently. The beautiful student's expression changes, asking, somewhat upset, if he really did that behind her back. Her friend bursts out laughing, mocking him while he desperately denies it. But the rude guy insists on the lie, saying he destroyed her reputation. Completely fed up, the young man throws his jacket at the liar, telling him to shut up. The strong impact hits the big guy's face squarely, making him lose balance, his immense belly jiggling as he falls ridiculously. The imaginary partner appears with a machine gun, congratulating the boy. The two girls watch, sweating coldly, as the hero chases and beats up the lying chubby guy. The wonderful student turns her head, getting a very distant, thoughtful look. Late afternoon arrives, covering the school with cozy orange light. Walking home alone, the young man sadly reflects on the day's terrible disaster. He regrets learning nothing about the girl and creating a big misunderstanding. He walks with his head head down, blaming his chubby classmate for talking nonsense. Suddenly, a sweet voice calls his name, making him turn around, scared. The beautiful girl appears very close with a teasing smile, asking if he enjoyed talking bad about her. Caught completely by surprise, the fearful hero jumps back, stammering her name. He panics, remembering the chubby guy's scary warnings, but the lovely young woman just lets out a cute, friendly laugh, finding his reaction funny. Trying to fix the mess, he swears he didn't speak ill of her, and she pretends to believe him. She gives him a friendly pat on the arm, saying she knows it was just a joke. Changing the subject, she insists he walk her home since he's out of money. Just imagining the huge hill makes him break into a cold sweat. The mental ghost agrees they technically did talk about the girl behind her back, making the boy tense. Our protagonist concludes it's better to drop that dangerous topic. He accepts, letting out a tired sigh, preparing for the long walk. Arriving, the young woman stops in front of a gigantic hill, complaining about inclines. The boy doesn't understand the difficulty, asking if climbing is really a challenge. She explains her anemia causes weakness and shortness of breath, turning hills into terror. Then she turns her back, ordering him to push her up the hill. The sudden request embarrasses him, but she insists, telling him to be quick. Very carefully, his trembling hands finally touch her soft back, and they begin climbing with the hero pushing, using all his strength. The student has fun, letting out a small laugh, saying his hand tickles. Looking over her shoulder, she blushes slightly, confessing she's a little sensitive there. Hearing that, the poor teenager's face burns with embarrassment, finding her jokes dangerous. Focused on the walk, the boy analyzes the situation, realizing this is a good opportunity. He deduces getting closer could make the relationship lighter, while she asks for less force. He daydreams, imagining carrying her on his back in a romantic atmosphere. The imaginary advisor applauds the vision, praising the cute thought. The boy agrees, justifying that dreaming a little doesn't hurt. Showing a serene smile, he closes his eyes, enjoying that moment of peace. But the young woman snaps him out of it, shouting breathlessly he's pushing too fast and hurting her. Overcome by panic, the desperate boy apologizes 1,000 times, while she pants, exhausted. Embarrassed, the hero turns his face, sweating coldly, trying to hide his shame. At the top of the hill, they reach an open place with a beautiful view, and she tries to catch her breath. The boy admires the place, feeling the pleasant breeze, observing the region where she lives. Suddenly, he adjusts his glasses, noticing an interesting detail below. He observes the beautiful city skyline full of walking rocks, saying he's never visited. The beautiful girl agrees it's not a good place for an anemia patient, and he affirms he's right. She jokes she's dead tired and he wants to end her by making her walk more. The poor boy becomes very embarrassed, offering a sincere apology, but she smiles in relief, forgiving him, stating the view from there is beautiful. Totally hypnotized, the student freezes, staring at his classmate with great shock. She tucks her dark hair behind her ear, admiring the sunlit landscape. The boy swallows hard, feeling his heartbeat uncontrollably. He remembers the weird warning from his chubby friend about something wrong with her. He reflects that not being able to take his eyes off her could be the great danger his friend warned about. Gathering all his courage, he decides to speak very seriously. Clenching his fists, our protagonist calls her name, trying to maintain composure. She turns her face, surprised, and listens to him confess he really was talking about her. Shocked, she asks if he spoke ill of her, and he immediately denies it, sweating coldly. Trying to explain, he makes up that he was surprised to find out she had childhood friends. Lowering his face in shame, the hero confesses his only intention was to learn more about her. Hearing that cute declaration, her beautiful eyes widen, her cheeks flushing. He reinforces it was all a misunderstanding. He would never offend her. Scratching the back of his neck, he says he just didn't want to create false ideas. The beautiful young woman processes the words, turning her face, seeming thoughtful, but soon she gives a friendly smile, telling him not to worry and forget it. Relieved, he agrees, and she suggests they head back. Walking down the street, the boy checks if she can handle going down the big hill. She waves from a distance, thanking him for the good company, walking toward her home. Letting out a long sigh, the boy relaxes his shoulders, feeling the danger has passed. The mental advisor reflects, finding her reaction very indecipherable. He questions if the hero really needed to be so sincere. The buff ghost explains that as beautiful as sincerity is, silence always avoids disasters. Meanwhile, the young student walks down the sunny street, trying to understand her own feelings. She adopts a very serious, reflective expression, feeling the impact of his declaration. The boy with glasses also remains thoughtful, mulling over his words. The beautiful student shows a smitten smile, noticing the boy is incredibly direct. She continues walking happily down the sidewalk, the late afternoon sun illuminating the street. But reality hits, and the girl with anemia collapses exhausted, on the ground due to the absurd tiredness in her legs. The next day, the fight between the two childhood friends resumes with full force in the school hallway. The scene moves forward, showing the large outdoor area of the school with many trees. Suddenly, the buff ghost makes a surprised expression, noticing something different in the air. The hero walks wearing a blue tracksuit, preparing for a big soccer game. The mental partner sits on his shoulder, praising the sport for building muscle and sweat. But the young man's eyes widen absurdly, noticing a serious problem. His shoelace has come untied in the middle of the empty hallway. He quickly kneels to fix his sneakers and avoid tripping. He hears someone scolding him and looks up, very surprised. He comes face to face with a weird classmate staring with a scary look and imposing posture. She scolds him, complaining she almost had a terrible accident because of his sudden stop. Speechless, the young man whispers her name, fearing what might happen. She stretches out her hand, placing it on his head, forcing him to look at the ground. In a top-down view, she maintains her posture, telling him to stop staring at her face. She says everyone looks really ugly from that weird bottom-up angle. The older classmate leans in, showing great discomfort with his careless attitude. She turns her back, telling him never to block the path again, and walks away calmly. The boy listens to the big scolding, watching her disappear down the hallway. She becomes just a stone again in his vision, proving he only has eyes for his beloved. He reflects on his great fear of rejection, which transformed female students into lifeless rocks. Shaken, the young man appears studying hard, seeking to improve his grades to overcome the shame. Our hero trains hard lifting weights in the gym to get strong and never suffer for love again. The scene changes to the field, where the boy kicks a large soccer ball with impressive force. The chubby goalie can't defend the powerful shot, conceding a memorable goal. All his teammates hug the protagonist, celebrating the incredible goal. Totally exhausted, the big friend swears they will beat the other classes with ease. Meanwhile, the lovely girl appears, accompanied by her friend listening to the noises outside. The classmate sucks on a candy, saying the classroom will smell terribly of boys' sweat. The boy plays soccer on the field while some female students watch from a distance. The beautiful long-haired young woman looks away, catching her friend's attention. Several female students sit in the stands, praising the boy's skills, but the beautiful student watches them from afar, holding a lollipop with a serious expression. The fans comment on how his charm increases because he always ignores women. The companion in the yellow jacket finds the gossip silly. She questions the beautiful student about the reasons for his success. The wonderful young woman puts the candy to her lips, reflecting. She quickly recalls all his scared, stuttering expressions and smiles charmingly, stating she can understand that appeal a little. Time passes, and we see the huge school structure under a calm, sunny day. In the courtyard, the boys surround the hero, celebrating the victory he secured. Totally exhausted and sweaty, the student plans to wash his face before returning to the classroom. He walks to the water fountain, turning on the tap to cool off. He splashes cold water on his face, feeling immense relief from the heat. Suddenly, a voice praises his incredible kick, making him look confusedly to the side. He comes face to face with the smug, chubby guy, confessing he didn't expect to concede a goal like that. Trying to be polite, our protagonist returns the compliment, stating he defended well, but the big student immediately scowls, showing a great grudge. Staring up close, the chubby classmate questions the dark side of soccer. He complains that people always blame the goalie for the defeat. With a stern expression, he states this is the main reason he hates the boy. He admits conceding that unstoppable goal made him angry. The muscular partner holds an axe, wanting to attack the annoying chubby guy. The young man quickly stretches out his hand, blocking a jet of water coming right at him. Without warning, the big classmate shoots cold water directly into his face. Taking the unexpected shower, the student winces, complaining about the temperature. Enraged, the boy returns the liquid jet, starting an intense water fight. The two curse at each other, firing powerful jets, exchanging insults about glasses. From a distance, the two friends observe the wet mess with confused expressions. The student in the jacket tries to understand the kid fight. Driven by curiosity, they decide to get closer. The water combat ceases, the boys staring at each other, panting and dripping. Completely wet, our hero complains of disgust, his tracksuit soaked. Without shame, the chubby guy rips off his shirt, exposing his huge belly, leaving the boy shocked. Annoyed, the boy also takes off his shirt, promising to give his classmate a beating later. But at that exact moment, the two friends arrive right behind the shirtless big guy. The hero dries his face, revealing an incredibly ripped abdomen full of muscles. Faced with that wonderful sight, the girl's eyes widen, and they blush, enchanted. The pretty girl is left totally speechless, hypnotized by her classmate's defined body. In total contrast, the chubby guy shows off his round, flabby belly, breathing heavily. Looking at that makes the two friends feel tremendous disgust. The girls turn around and run away in a hurry, calling that image hellish. The overweight classmate grinds his teeth furiously, insulting the two girls who rejected him. As for our hero, he turns extremely pale, feeling his soul leave his body from embarrassment. Taking out his fury, the chubby guy lunges at the boy, applying a strong chokehold. The female students follow the confusion from a distance. However, the beautiful dark-haired young woman has a very curious, attentive look towards the young hero. The next day dawns, illuminating the entire beautiful school. The boy tries shaking off his thoughts by kicking the soccer ball with all his might on the field. This time, the experienced big classmate catches the swift shot, Defending the goal, the student grits his teeth, panting, showing irritation at not scoring. Surrounding students congratulate the chubby goalie, who shows a wide smile holding the ball, but the classmate with glasses furrows his eyebrows, finding the boy's furious attitude strange. The young man sweats a lot on the field, while someone complains he's kicking too weakly. The mental partner appears sitting cross-legged, agreeing with the feeling. Tired, the student decides to take a break, walking towards the stairs, surrounded by stone girls. He finally sits on the steps, letting out a big sigh of physical exhaustion. Trying to catch his breath, he rests there quietly in the large courtyard. Suddenly, he gets a scare hearing a voice state he looks very exhausted. Lifting his face, he comes face to face with the beautiful student smiling, coming down the stairs right in front of him. Caught by surprise, he stammers her name, his cheeks very red. A wave of desperation takes over his face, leaving him totally terrified. In pure panic, he asks her to get down right away. She doesn't understand, sweating coldly. Our protagonist turns his face, blushing, hiding his mouth with his hands. A memory emerges of a rock-faced woman staring coldly from above. But back to reality, the view he has of his beautiful classmate looking down is too wonderful. Desperate, the young man moves away, while the student asks if he doesn't want to see her. She cites the warnings about people looking ugly from that angle. Playfully, she points to herself, wanting to know if she looks ugly, and the boy denies it instantly. The wonderful student sits next to him, listening to him confess she's even more beautiful. After blurting out this big compliment, the boy freezes, feeling his face burn. The beautiful young woman rests her face in her hand, blushing slightly, showing a super charming smile. Regretting his words, the teenager freaks out, realizing the pickup line he delivered. The imaginary advisor appears, stroking his mustache, commenting the boy fell into the same mistake. With a mocking look, the big partner ignores the desperate young man's cry for help. He tells him to solve the problem himself, leaving him to suffer. Holding his head in despair, the hero laments his lack of a filter, while the girl just looks at him. She continues staring sweetly, seeming to love his shy reactions. Showing unreal beauty, she just thanks him for the beautiful compliment with a gentle smile. Not knowing how to react, the poor boy swallows hard, maintaining a rigid posture, sweating coldly. The student playfully suggests he only said that to please her, laughing at his denial. With a radiant expression, she states she loves receiving compliments, and he agrees, enchanted. Surprising him, she mentions the rumors about him being a cool and attractive guy. In total shock, he waves his hands, denying those rumors desperately. However, the wonderful student looks away, quietly confessing she doesn't think the other girls are wrong. Hearing this direct confession makes the hero lose all color, completely paralyzed. Still processing, he stammers, asking in what way he would be so cool. We see a detail of her delicate lips as she tries to find the words. Her mind quickly remembers the striking scene of the shirtless boy showing off his sweaty six-pack. The memory makes her smile nervously, trying to hide her embarrassment. Getting very close, she whispers that he is simply attractive in every way. Receiving such a direct flirtation leaves the poor boy's mind in a complete short circuit. The beautiful classmate just shows a serene, charming look, having fun with his nervousness. A classmate appears from below, announcing the second half is about to start. The student agrees, turning his head slowly, still recovering from the big pickup line. With excitement, the beautiful young woman waves from the steps, wishing him good luck. Back on the green field, the hero remains completely frozen while his partners complain. He mentally confesses to his ghost friend he has no idea what's happening. Suddenly, our protagonist snaps out of it, kicking the ball with incredibly strong fury. With hidden talent, he dribbles past all the defenders easily. The mental advisor crosses his arms, surprised by the sudden improvement. The buff guy smiles proudly, stating the young man already knows the answer well. The truth is, knowing the beautiful student is watching from the stands changes everything. Analyzing the scene, the ghost partner hesitates but decides to say something against his own advice. Showing a sly expression, the big guy suggests maybe small romantic illusions are useful. With an unstoppable shot, the ball hits the net squarely, scoring another spectacular goal. The boy runs celebrating, the voice confirming having a romantic motivation is great. Catching his breath, the hero hears all his teammates shouting, praising that perfect kick. Being so acclaimed, the student opens a wide, sincere smile, very happy with the match. Far away, the beautiful young woman smiles lovingly, internally promising never to forgive the troublemaking chubby guy. Showing a flowery aura, the student closes her eyes, letting out an extremely sweet, graceful laugh. Time moves forward, showing the immense school facade under the sunny blue sky. An elegant woman with glasses spies on the lovebirds from afar, feeling a certain envy. The scene begins with a view of a large apartment building. Our protagonist enters his house with a very surprised expression. He's completely confused, not understanding what's happening. His mother complains at the dinner table about bought tickets and her husband needing to work. She turns around, upset, tickets in hand, while the father notices the boy. The mother asks if he's heading to school and if he ate. The young man smiles, saying he'll buy a snack on the way. She scolds him, calling it unhealthy. The boy swallows hard, sweating coldly, mentally confessing he's very hungry. His father continues eating soup calmly, ignoring the conversation. The buff imaginary partner is well fed, eating a nice steak. Suddenly, the mother offers the 2 tickets to the boy, suggesting a weekend outing. She explains it's a play, encouraging him to invite a school friend. The father just coughs awkwardly, having ruined the romantic date. Our hero looks at the 2 tickets in his hands with a thoughtful expression. Later at school, a long-haired classmate turns down the invitation, making a silly excuse. Other classmates also refuse, busy with club activities. Even the troublemaking chubby guy dismisses it, stating he hates plays. Hearing the direct refusal leaves our hero completely shocked. The protagonist confesses surprised. He imagined the big guy being a huge cartoon fan, but the rude classmate gets offended, stating he doesn't watch those things. The chubby student turns his back, saying he's going to the snack bar. Alone, the student rests his hand on his chin, trying to understand his judgment. The buff partner on his shoulder agrees, reflecting on the danger of rumors. The ghost notices the declined invitations, questioning the plan as the teacher approaches, asking her to repeat the mysterious phrase. Crossing her arms, the educator reprimands him for not greeting her in the hallway. Embarrassed, the hero bows, apologizing, saying he was distracted. The beautiful educator approaches, asking if he by any chance talks to imaginary friends. The boy freezes instantly, sweating a lot, wondering internally how she knew. Soon, they're sitting on a courtyard bench in a tense atmosphere, talking. The woman gets straight to the point, asking if he wishes to invite a female classmate on a date. She mentions the name of the beautiful student, and the boy turns his head in total shock. Making a cute pose, the teacher reveals she overheard him flirting with the girl. Showing an astute look, the beautiful woman corners him with the information. The student remains silent as the mentor states he has a great fear of rejection. Head down, the hero admits his weakness, ashamed of being so fearful. The educator explains, asking the young woman out in front of everyone would indeed be scary. He reflects, understanding such an invitation would sound like a confession. The teacher gets up, mocking his cowardly attitude. Walking across the courtyard with a confident smile, she guarantees he will be very grateful for her help. Confused, the boy watches the mentor call out the beautiful girl's name loudly. The 3 friends stop walking, surprised. As the teacher tells the young woman to listen to the nervous boy. Thrown to the lions, our protagonist has an internal meltdown of pure panic. Without any filter, the woman rats him out, stating he wants to go to the theater with her. The girl's friends burst out laughing, calling him a coward for using the teacher. The educator turns her back, fleeing the scene, waving. But contrary to his nervousness, the beautiful student waves from afar with a radiant smile. The poor hero sweats coldly, remembering the warning this would be like asking her out. The beautiful young woman leans in, showing irresistible charm, asking if he really wants her company. Paralyzed by her beauty, he's speechless. Eyes wide, his mind goes into a blackout, letting out only a small sound. Unable to think straight, our hero agrees to the date, causing a big surprise in the young woman. The weekend arrives, and the boy waits at the designated spot surrounded by stones. The buff partner laments he hadn't planned anything, just went with the flow. The ghost gives him a hard time for being impulsive, while the young man agrees. The partner compliments him, saying he looks attractive without his glasses, but the young man sighs, stating that visual detail isn't the important part. The giant ghost crosses his arms, asking what the hero wants with that girl. With a serious look, the mustached strongman warns he needs to make a decision now. The companion states clearly the boy is feeling romantic emotions for her. He adds the beautiful student has surely noticed the ulterior motives. However, the hero remains paralyzed because of his terrible fear of rejection. The mental partner recalls the cruel nightmares, stating that terrible past could return. He suggests giving up these feelings to avoid another great pain. Overcome by anguish, the young man questions how he could simply throw his feelings away. Suddenly, his face freezes, realizing what his friend's bizarre plan is. His mind imagines his beautiful classmate turning her back, walking out of his life forever. We see only the mouth of the buff ghost calling his colleague with a serene voice. The giant says he will help the teenager choose to see her as a pure rock. The wonderful long-haired young woman appears on the street, walking beautifully towards him. The poor boy is in complete shock, his face turning very red. The imaginary advisor swears to do his best to support his companion. The beautiful student shows a charming look, approaching, showing she dressed up. The 2 young people come face to face in a romantic, cute atmosphere. The upset teenager remembers normal childhood rejections, but the scary memory of his classmate feeling disgusted proves how much it scarred him. Thus, the little boy of the past decided to turn women into statues. He concludes developing feelings and getting close causes emotional problems. He recalls seeing all female students as faceless rocks killed his desire, keeping his heart protected. In the dark avoided future, pain and romantic disappointment, we see our poor boy walking alone in his memories, seeking friendly help. The scene cuts to the beautiful exterior of a sunny coffee shop shop on a busy street. Inside, the beautiful student compliments him. Finding it chic, he ordered a bitter espresso. The student responds awkwardly, cup in hand, assuring it's no big deal. Seen from above, they chat calmly about spare time until the play starts. Very tense, our teenager drinks his coffee, trying to hide his nervousness. He's filled with fear, imagining turning his beloved into a simple stone to avoid suffering. Sweating coldly, he understands that to win her heart, he must face his old trauma. Completely downcast, our hero suffers a major mental crisis with his cup. His mind returns to the years surrounded by faceless students, keeping his routine safe. The beautiful student brings him back to reality, calling his attention with a curious expression. In shock, he lies that the bitter taste made him lose focus. But the lovely student sees through it, saying she knows he was thinking of something else. With great charm, she demands more attention, joking he should have ordered something sweet. The hero loses his color hearing. She took exactly 2 hours getting ready for him. We see the beautiful dark-haired young woman put a lot of effort into her makeup, spending time admiring her clothes in the mirror. Hearing about this tremendous sacrifice makes the poor student's soul fly out in pure panic. The charming girl rests her chin on her hand, demanding all his attention with a teasing look. The boy swallows his tears, recognizing he's a tremendous jerk for ignoring her company. The wonderful long-haired young woman gets up, happily announcing their time is up. He agrees immediately, leaning on the table while she goes ahead, excited. Taking a deep breath, our hero decides to ignore his fears and focus only on her during the outing. The scene moves forward, revealing the gigantic stage where the classic play is happening. The beautiful lead actress extends her arm, shouting super intense romantic lines, but the man in the ridiculous wig responds rudely, completely ruining the magic. The crazy actor in old clothes points at her, criticizing her foolishness. In the audience, the young woman crosses her arms, suffering from great boredom, while the tired boy gives a big yawn. After the boring play, the student points to a claw machine, and the hero offers to help. He spends a lot of money fighting the machine while his classmate has fun with his fury. Later, in a small singing booth, the boy screams, singing terribly, making the beautiful student laugh. At the diner, the lovely girl shows her affection by cutting a delicious steak for our boy. During the night, walking alone through the city, the classmate brings up a big topic from the past. She questions how close he was to the other girl, and he explains with a big smile. The lovebirds continue their serene walk, enjoying the incredible night. Later, we see the beautiful night view of the huge buildings as the boy sighs in relief. Standing on the street, the beautiful student thanks him for walking her home. With a sweet smile, she waves goodbye, wishing him a safe arrival. But suddenly, she stops waving, showing a confused expression, waiting for him to speak. The hero shrinks, sweating coldly, hands trembling, seeming to want to say something important. Completely desperate, he stammers, trying to form the big sentence. The lovely student waits patiently while he tries to gather courage. She continues standing, staring with a curious, mysterious look. Time passes, and she calls his name, trying to understand the delay. Overcome by absolute panic, he lets out a nervous laugh, swallowing hard. Totally cowardly, he gives up on telling the truth and just says goodbye, scratching the back of his neck. Annoyed by his escape, the classmate gives him a little punch, complaining he made her anxious. Then she turns her back, laughing, and runs away down the sidewalk waving. The student stands planted, feeling he just lost a gigantic opportunity. He lowers his gaze, feeling the weight of his cowardice, trying to process what he did. Without much to do, he turns around, beginning the long journey home. The two students go their separate ways, ending the long date for good. He reflects that just imagining a possible rejecting response caused great terror. Walking alone, he thinks backing down was for the best, so as not to become more uncomfortable. He remembers the teacher. Deducing the student only went out with him out of obligation. Great sadness dominates his heart, fearing to suffer just like the past rejection. To avoid the pain, he vows to start treating the beautiful student like a stone. With a distant look, our protagonist agrees, needing to distance himself quickly. But suddenly, a strong memory of the young woman's sweet voice giving advice echoes in his mind. Hearing the memory, he freezes in the middle of the sidewalk, his eyes widening. He remembers the flushed face of the lovely student standing before him moments ago. The beautiful vision of his classmate's sincere, charming smile dominates his thoughts. Breathing heavily, the student enters a huge trance, focusing only on her beautiful face. In this tense moment, the muscular partner speaks up again, calling the protagonist's attention. They sit in the dark as the ghost tries to understand if he's really going to give up. The mental man promises to support him, saying running from fear is also a valid choice. But the strongman advisor needles him, mentioning this is the same attitude as his child self. Head down, the hero asks a simple question, wanting to know how he looks. The mustached mental advisor observes his partner, maintaining a serious expression. Without mincing words, he states the boy acted badly using the teacher for the invitation. He lists the innumerable humiliations and shameful blunders committed on the date. To make matters worse, the coward wanted to back out at the last minute out of pure fear. The companion finds it ridiculous. The only solution is to treat her like a stone again. He apologizes for his sincerity, assuring he's only telling hard truths. The invisible friend lets out a tired sigh, feeling great pity for the young man's situation. Smiling to avoid crying, our hero agrees with the insult, declaring himself a mega loser. Suddenly, the scene moves forward, and the desperate young man's hands firmly grab the pretty girl's hand. Returning to the moment of farewell, the hero holds the student, calling her name. The beautiful young woman blanks, totally paralyzed in complete shock from the contact. Sweating buckets, the boy overcomes his traumas, inviting her to another date at the theater. Stuttering, he regrets she fell asleep in the boring theater. Wanting to make up for it, the beautiful student can't say a single word in the face of his firmness. But soon, a super radiant smile dominates her face, and she starts laughing very happily. The lovely student jokes, confessing she was just waiting for him to make a move. Successful, the student dies of embarrassment, promising to find a more fun place. Still insecure, he apologizes again for the poor choice of show, but her huge eyes widen, processing the great confusion in his mind. Finding it all cute, the girl starts laughing happily again, overflowing with incredible charm. Playfully, she confesses she loved the invitation, guaranteeing she's very excited for the next day. Seen from above, the lovebirds continue with their hands intertwined, forgetting the world. At that exact moment, the two hands remain there, proving the boy has advanced in his romance. Suddenly, the poor boy gets a huge scare, returning to reality on the sidewalk. He lets go of her hand in pure desperation, shouting sorry for touching her while she laughs. With a confident smile, the beautiful student tells him to reveal his feelings on their next date. Finally, the beautiful girl turns her back, waving happily, disappearing at the end of the dark street. The young man holds his chest, feeling his heart beat fast as she walks away. But from a distance, the beautiful student shows a very thoughtful, slightly sad expression. She raises her hand delicately, remembering the warm, unexpected touch of our hero. A sweet smile appears on her face as she clasps her hands near her chest, showing great joy. The next day dawns, illuminating the huge school structure. The student with glasses appears sweating coldly, looking exhausted first thing in the morning. Trying to clear his mind, our protagonist trains hard, doing pull-ups in the park. The buff advisor sits on his shoulders, counting the repetitions. While working out, the boy remembers the bold promise to take the girl on another date. The big ghost crosses his arms, praising his courageous, remarkable attitude. But the boy complains, suffering through the exercise, saying he has no idea how to approach her. The troublemaking classmate appears out of nowhere behind him, wanting to know if he's almost done. Exhausted, the hero massages his neck, lamenting his joints always hurt during training. The feisty student stares at his back with a surprised expression. The boy gets a huge scare, screaming in desperation, asking who the crazy young woman is. The girl wears pajamas full of bunnies, introducing herself confidently with a fake smile. She claims it's a great coincidence to find him there. The poor student stammers her name, not having recognized her. Only when he sees her as a stone does he remember she's his beloved's friend. The tough young woman points to the pull-up bar, demanding he get back to training. Without much choice, our hero obeys, hanging from the bar to start the movements. Suddenly, the girl goes crazy, letting out a terrifying scream of pure hatred. Without warning, she delivers an incredibly fast-flying kick right to the middle of his face. The strong impact throws the boy far, rolling across the grass, feeling immense pain. Lying on the ground, he caresses the spot, scolding her for her crazy attitude. The pajama-clad girl crosses her arms, scolding him, saying his horrible posture will destroy his body. Turning her back, she says she's going home to change, demanding he wait for her. Indignant, our hero tries to argue he needs to finish his workout, but is ignored. The troublemaker casts a deadly glare over her shoulder, repeating the order, making him tremble. Confused, the boy adjusts his glasses, trying to understand the madness. The imaginary ghost strokes his chin, stating this is a golden opportunity. The muscular man explains that to win a great battle, one must know the enemy well. The teenager recalls trying to get secrets from the smug, chubby guy. The invisible friend concludes the main focus is to gather information, to win the girl over. Understanding the genius plan, the student decides to act naturally and question the friend about his beloved. Both agree the pajama-clad girl will be much more useful than the chubby guy. A short time later, the classmate returns in comfortable exercise clothes. The boy asks about the change, and she replies in a bad mood she's now wearing proper sneakers. With a blank face, the hero confesses he sees her as a stone, leaving her incredibly furious. She ignores the insult, ordering him to do a pull-up so she can analyze his posture. Putting the strategy into practice, he asks if she and his beloved are great partners. The classmate finds the question strange, giving a malicious smile, realizing his ulterior motives. Being very direct, she states he is in love with her friend, leaving him in complete shock. Desperate, he tries to deny it, waving his arms and stuttering badly. She scoffs, saying absolutely anyone would notice that great love. She even points to a random passing chicken, agreeing with the gossip. Changing her tone, the feisty student warns, winning the beautiful young woman's heart will be very difficult. The hero asks if the problem is her fame, and the advisor confirms that's part of it. The classmate puts her hand on her chin, searching for words. words, revealing her friend is very mysterious. She explains the boy's beloved gets along extremely well with all students. The troublemaking friend says they spend most school hours stuck together talking. However, she sadly confides she feels she never knows what's really going on in the other's mind. A sad memory emerges, showing the beautiful girl never shares problems from her personal life. Showing a cold aura, she seems to keep huge secrets behind that charming smile. Regaining focus, the student smiles, telling the hero to prepare to suffer at the hands of the popular girl. He adjusts his glasses, remembering the same weird warning from the chubby guy. With the atmosphere tense, the troublemaker cuts the subject short, telling him to get back to training. Totally immersed in thoughts, he takes another big, painful flying kick directly to the stomach. He doubles over in pain, wanting to know why the short, rude girl is forcing him to train. With a bandage on his head, he asks if she thinks she's superior, and she mocks his face. The classmate unzips her pink jacket confidently. She reveals workout clothes, claiming to be great at sports. The young woman strikes a pose, showing her fit body, asking him not to fall in love. The student stands frozen in pure shock, but his mind quickly transforms her into a large rock wearing gym clothes. The hero sighs, calling her conceited under the blue sky. Next, the scene shows the quiet square with people walking up staircases. A delicate hand firmly holds a white plastic bag. The beautiful long-haired girl walks calmly, wearing comfortable clothes. She overhears two female students gossiping about the beauty of the PE teacher. With a red face, she adjusts her cap, processing the overheard conversations. The two students pass by, speculating about a romance between teachers. Hearing the gossip, the beautiful student lowers her head, showing discomfort. Her lips open in a brief moment of surprise at what she heard. She looks over her shoulder with a curious, attentive expression. The lovely young woman approaches the workout bars, finding her classmates talking. The exhausted student pants heavily, begging for mercy. Watching the training up close, the young man with glasses tries pull-ups, guided by his ponytailed friend. The beautiful girl in the cap watches her classmate's effort, showing a sweet smile. But the annoyed friend delivers a big kick, telling him to get out of the way. The troublemaking classmate takes over the bar, holding the metal firmly. She explains the correct movement, stating the force should come from the back. With great ease, she lifts her own weight, showing great physical skill. She maliciously questions what the difference is between what she did and the boy's mistake. The student scratches the back of his neck, impressed by the complaining friend's strength. The beautiful girl in the cap approaches, complimenting her friend with a cute smile. The strong girl ignores the boy, running super excitedly to her best friend. Completely lost, the hero asks why his classmate is walking around there. The friends ignore the question, chatting excitedly about giving advice. Suddenly, the subject changes when a large rooster appears walking in the park. The beautiful student looks at the bird curiously, completely surprised by the unusual visit. Seeking attention, our hero finally manages to greet his beloved somewhat shyly. The pretty student admires the bars, stating she finds that type of exercise impossible. The boy makes an indelicate comment remembering her anemia and ends up apologizing. The strong friend suggests giving her a little push so she can hang from the bar. Being bossy, she orders the student to stand in front to count repetitions. He obeys, coming face to face with the girl while her friend lifts her by the waist. Even with support, she feels great difficulty, panting from fatigue. Her eyes show all the effort she's making to stay hanging. Our protagonist stands paralyzed, observing her body right before his eyes. Completely focused, he maintains a fixed, glazed-over look. The beloved student tries gathering all her strength, sweating a lot. The friend uses her hands to support her, scolding her to use her arm strength. Trembling a lot, the beautiful student finally starts the upward movement. She sighs heavily, lifting her face above the bar with pure exhaustion. The boy continues staring strangely while reflecting on the park's rooster. The young woman notices his fixed gaze, becoming very embarrassed, holding her breath. Suddenly, she gets scared, completely losing control of her movements. She slips from the bar, letting out a scream, falling directly on top of her helping friend. The protagonist is surprised, watching the two girls collapse awkwardly. He's confused, looking at the strange position she fell in. He lets out a sigh, remembering the danger of anemia, saying the effort was a big mistake. The desperate, beautiful student checks if her friend on the ground is still breathing. The friend says with closed eyes that the silly guy daydreamed and didn't even count. The young student is mortified with embarrassment, hearing her classmate confess her fury. The crazy girl lifts the beautiful girl high in the air, causing a huge scare in our protagonist. We see the park's structure from a distance as a scream for forgiveness echoes throughout. Then time passes, and an orange late afternoon appears, illuminating the large city buildings. Walking together, the young couple of friends follow side by side on the sidewalk, returning home. The student comments, sweating coldly, that he's super tired even without having done anything properly. He gently suggests trying to learn workouts with his classmate in the future would be cool. He reflects on the grand strategy he had put together, having learned nothing, but the imaginary advisor gives a thumbs up, assuring that training a little with her was enough. Arriving at a street, the beautiful young woman waves, saying her way home is that way. The hero returns the wave politely, saying goodbye until the next day. However, he notices her strange expression and questions if she wanted to say something else. She looks away, seeming a bit sad, stammering it's absolutely nothing, but soon she gives a huge, charming smile under the strong late afternoon sun. She turns her back, waving again, leaving, saying it was just curiosity. The boy stands confused, unable to understand the sweet young woman's sudden attitude. The buff ghost puts his hand on his face, looking extremely disappointed with the hero's stupidity. Sighing, the giant confesses he also doesn't perfectly master the complex female mind, but states the boy gave the completely wrong answer, leaving him even more lost. Walking, the student asks his friend to explain where he went wrong, while the man prefers silence. We see a beautiful orange sky as the ghost's voice complains about the teenager's crucial mistakes. Far away, the girl in the cap gets a huge scare, once again encountering the same mysterious rooster on the street. The school rooftop seemed like a nice place to be, open and spacious. A lone student with brown hair and a yellow hoodie walks across the green turf, enjoying the silence that only comes after hours. As evening settles over the city, she takes a moment to stretch her arms and breathe in the cool air. She assumed that at this time of day, she would be the only person left on the premises. Our girl stops in her tracks when a mysterious melody suddenly echoes through the evening air. She looks around in complete shock, wondering who could possibly be playing music in such a lonely place. Standing by the edge of the fence, she looks down toward the main school building. The melody is clear and haunting, echoing through the empty courtyard as the sky grows darker by the minute. She stands there in total confusion, wondering who could possibly be playing the piano this late at night. The music room should have been locked up long ago, yet the performance is unmistakably real. The sheer skill of the hidden pianist is overwhelming, causing her pupils to contract in shock. Every note hits with a precision that feels almost supernatural, pinning her to the spot as she listens intently. She is so impressed that she actually gives a thumbs up to the empty air, admitting the playing was good enough to send shivers down her spine. The talent displayed in that empty room is truly on another level. A small group of students stands in the hallway. Park Jin-young and Jung Sun-woo listen with varying expressions as the large, glasses-wearing student stands at the front of the group. Our boy Park Jin-young looks a bit concerned, asking why she is telling the story like it is some kind of horror movie. Young Sun-woo is already starting to look a little pale just hearing about it. The scary story is way too much for this muscular guy, who ends up curled into a shivering ball on the floor. It turns out that even the biggest muscles in school are no match for a truly terrifying ghost story. The group gathers in the center of the corridor, still reeling from the idea that someone at their school is that talented. They stand in a small circle, completely absorbed in the mystery of the rooftop melody. A large student with glasses and a tight suit crosses his arms and steps into the conversation. He has a very serious look on his face, as if he knows exactly what she is talking about. He leans in and asks them if they have ever heard of the music room ghost. The mention of a supernatural entity immediately changes the vibe of the entire discussion. An image of a dusty piano with blood dripping onto the white keys flashes through their minds as he speaks. He claims that late at night, the instrument plays itself while haunted by a tragic spirit. This guy delivers the story with such a straight face, even though his buttons are clearly fighting for their lives against that suit. He insists the legend is true and that the music is a warning. The three friends stare back at him with varying degrees of disbelief and genuine terror. Young Sunwoo looks like she might actually faint if he says one more word about ghosts or haunted instruments. Park Jin-young adjusts his glasses, looking totally unimpressed by the tall tale. He wonders what kind of cheap ghost story this guy is trying to sell them in the middle of a school day. He lets out a frustrated sigh, clearly not buying into the supernatural hype. To him, there has to be a logical explanation for someone playing the piano after hours that does not involve the undead. Beside him, Young Sunwoo is visibly trembling, clutching her chest as she tries to process the scary story. She seems to be taking every word as absolute gospel, much to the surprise of Park Jin-young. Our boy realizes that despite her usual calm demeanor, Sunwoo is secretly kind of timid. The fact that she is shaking just from a silly story makes him see her in a completely different light. Their conversation is cut short when a voice calls out the names of Park Jin-young and their other friend. The group turns to see a teacher standing further down the hall, waiting for them. Miss Han-gyul stands with her arms crossed, looking professional in her gray blazer and glasses. She has a sharp gaze that tells the students it is time to stop gossiping and get moving. The students quickly disperse, with the girl in the yellow hoodie leading the way. They acknowledge the teacher and start heading toward their next destination, though the mystery still lingers in the air. Once they are a bit further away, the brown-haired girl turns back to the large student to ask if the story was real. She has a skeptical look on her face as she waits for his honest answer. The big guy grinds his teeth and admits that he totally made the whole thing up. He only said it because he wanted to see the scared looks on their faces for a little bit of fun. He walks away with a casual wave, leaving the girl standing there in disbelief. He notes that Sunwoo looked genuinely terrified, which seems to have been his main goal all along. She stands frozen in the hallway, her jaw dropping as she realizes they were all played. The tension from the ghost story evaporates, replaced by pure annoyance at being tricked so easily. She calls him an insane bastard under her breath as she looks out toward the moonlit buildings. It is officially nighttime now, and the school takes on a much creepier atmosphere than before. Later that night, Park Jin-young and Jung Sunwoo walk through the dimly lit school corridors together. They discuss how hard Miss Han-gyul works, trying to keep their minds off the earlier ghost talk. Park Jin-young notices that Sunwoo is still shivering as they walk side by side. Even though the story was revealed to be a prank, she cannot seem to shake the feeling of being watched. She looks up at him with wide, teary eyes, her face completely drained of color. The poor girl is still trapped in the horror of the story, proving she really is a total scaredy cat. She reaches out and grabs onto his sleeve, insisting that she is fine while her hands continue to shake. Park Jin-young looks down at her, wondering how he is supposed to handle someone this frightened. He tries to calm her down, looking at her with a mix of confusion and pity. It is clear that no matter what he says, she is not going to feel safe until they are far away from here. He tells her there is no such thing as ghosts in this world, hoping that a bit of logic will snap her out of it. She just whimpers in response, clearly not convinced by his rational thinking. She starts trembling even harder, worried about some poor girl who supposedly passed away because she choked on a piece of candy. Our boy can only stare as his friend completely loses it over. The most ridiculous urban legend ever. Park Jin-young and his companion freeze as a soft melody drifts through the empty school halls. It is late, and the atmosphere is already unsettling enough without a random soundtrack playing. The girl stares ahead in pure disbelief, her mind immediately jumping to the worst possible conclusions. She wonders what could possibly be making that noise at this hour. Our boy tries to keep his cool, pointing out that the sound seems to be coming directly from the music room. He is trying his best to be the voice of reason here. She is not buying his logic for a second and asks if a real ghost could be the one behind the keys. The panic in her eyes is becoming very real. Even as he tries to convince her it is just a dedicated student practicing late, Park Jin-young looks a little less certain than he did a moment ago. They peer down the dimly lit corridor, where the shadows seem to stretch longer than they should. Everything feels just a bit too quiet between the piano notes. She's thinking that moving another step forward might be the biggest mistake of her life. Her legs are practically glued to the floor in fear. Suddenly, a massive, dark silhouette with glowing white eyes looms at the far end of the hallway. It looks like something ripped straight out of a horror movie. The girl is absolutely trembling now, her hands clenched into fists as she stands frozen behind Jin-young. Our protagonist is also starting to break a sweat. A muffled scream escapes her lips as the sheer terror of the situation finally starts to sink in. She's ready to bolt at any second. The dark figure does not just stand there. It starts gliding toward them with an eerie and steady movement. It is definitely coming their way. That is the final straw for our girl, who lets out a full-blown shriek that probably woke up the entire neighborhood. She has officially reached her limit. Without a second thought, she bolts up the stairs to get as far away from the creepy atmosphere as possible. She is officially done with these urban legends and just wants to reach the safety of the main building. She is moving at Olympic speeds, her face twisted in a comical mask of pure fear. Forget the urban legends. This has become a real survival situation. The shadowy figure watches them scramble away, offering a helpful suggestion to at least use the stairs if they are going to run. Talk about a polite monster. The shadow fades to reveal a stunning woman with long hair and glasses, who looks more confused than scary. She is actually a teacher, and she wonders why they are running away from her like she is some kind of monster. She looks down at herself, genuinely questioning if her appearance is really that intimidating to the students. Our teacher clearly has no idea how she looks in the dark. A wave of disappointment washes over her as she pouts, feeling a little hurt that her students were so terrified of her presence. She was just checking the halls. Meanwhile, the apartment complex rooftop sits under the glow of a bright crescent moon. The night air is cool and quiet here compared to the school. Park Jin-young bursts through the rooftop door, gasping for air as he finally stops running. He has never had a cardio workout quite like that one before. Our boy leans against the wall, clutching his chest as his heart tries to hammer its way out of his ribcage. That was way too close for comfort. The girl is even worse off, complaining about the stairs while clutching her side in pain. She blames her sudden lack of stamina on her anemia. Jin-young is visibly annoyed, thinking back to the guy who started all this by telling those creepy stories in the first place. This is all that idiot's fault. Even though they are safe, he cannot help but wonder who was actually playing the piano in the music room. room so late at night. It is still very weird. The girl is still shivering, her eyes wide as she tries to process the fact that they just survived a ghost encounter. Or at least that is what she thinks happened. Suddenly, a man with a sharp mustache and a confident smirk appears, looking like he stepped right out of a high-end drama. He seems very pleased with himself. He is wearing a dramatic vampire costume, complete with a flowing black cape and a deep red vest. This guy is definitely committed to the aesthetic. The man mentions something about a good situation, his tone full of mystery and a hint of mischief. Whoever this dude is, he is living his best life. He raises a finger as if to make a point, his expression turning serious yet playful at the same time. He is clearly the main character of his own story. The man is clearly savoring every second of this prank as he watches his master plan finally unfold. He definitely has everything under control. Back on the roof, Park Jin-young feels a sudden tug on his blazer and looks back to see his friend reaching out for him. She seems to have something important to say. Her lips tremble slightly as she prepares to speak, her face flushing a deep shade of pink in the moonlight. The fear is gone, replaced by something else. She clings to his arm, looking up at him with wide, vulnerable eyes that tell a whole different story than her usual bickering. The atmosphere on this rooftop just shifted completely. Our protagonist is completely caught off guard, his cheeks turning red as he stares back at her. His brain has officially entered a total system failure. They stand there in a heavy silence, the city lights twinkling in the background as the gap between them narrows. It looks like the ghost story just turned into a romance. Jin-young looks completely caught off guard as he ponders some deep psychological theories about the human heart. He remembers hearing about how danger can sometimes be mistaken for romantic attraction in the heat of the moment. It's called the suspension bridge effect, where being in a scary or dangerous situation makes you feel closer to the person beside you. Back on the rooftop, the sound of machinery hums in the background as the two students stand together in the cool night air. Jin-young notices that Sunwoo's face has softened up quite a bit too, and she looks genuinely pleased by the change. The atmosphere shifts instantly as Jin-young starts acting like a total goofball to lighten the mood for his companion. This unexpected silly side of him catches the long-haired girl by surprise and makes her break into a smile. She starts laughing and decides to share a story about her past, specifically from when they were both back in kindergarten. Back then, she used to throw massive tantrums because she absolutely hated being partnered up with a boy named Gyumin. She eventually quit dancing to focus on art lessons instead, especially since her anemia made it hard to keep up with the physical demand. Even though she hated the pairing, she admits that Gyumin was actually a total dance prodigy who moved with incredible grace. Jin-young tries to imagine that big guy busting a move, and his brain just refuses to compute the image. Some things are just impossible to visualize. He admits to her that the world of dancing is something he has never even considered stepping into before tonight. Sunwoo pauses for a moment, resting a finger on her chin as she gets lost in her own thoughts about those old days. A mischievous and playful look crosses her face as she turns her full attention back toward our protagonist. Out of nowhere, she tells him to hold out his hand, catching him completely off guard with the sudden request. He is totally confused, but she just insists that he stop, overthinking everything, and just give her his hand already. Their hands slowly close the distance between them as the city lights flicker in the distance behind the school fence. He finally takes her hand, and the atmosphere on the rooftop shifts into something far more intimate than before. She pulls him closer and begins to lead him through a basic dance step, her eyes shining with excitement. Unfortunately, Jin-young has the grace of a falling brick and accidentally stomps directly onto her foot with his slide. Sunwoo immediately doubles over in pain, clutching her toes while Jin-young panics and apologizes profusely for being so clumsy. She looks up with a pained and sweaty expression, but surprisingly, she doesn't look even a little bit angry at him. She tells him that it's totally fine and insists that they should try to start the dance over one more time. They try again, but Jin-young is flailing his arms like he is fighting off a swarm of invisible bees. This guy is a walking safety hazard. He manages to step on her foot for a second time, proving that his coordination is basically non-existent at this point. Our boy loses his balance completely and ends up eating dirt as he faceplants onto the concrete rooftop. Sunwoo breaks out into a fit of genuine laughter, finding his total lack of rhythm and coordination to be absolutely hilarious. Her laughter slowly fades into a soft, warm smile as she watches him struggle to gather his dignity and get back up. Jin-young looks up at her from the ground, feeling like a complete loser after such a pathetic and embarrassing display. She waits for him to say something, clearly curious about what is going on inside his head after that fall. Instead of just standing back up, he shifts his weight and drops down onto one knee with a very serious look. Jin-young decides to take a massive leap of faith by offering his hand once more. He looks her in the eye and asks her to look after him from now on, showing he is determined to make this connection work despite his earlier blunders. It's a bold move for a guy who just face-planted. Sunwoo stands there frozen in place, her eyes wide as she tries to process the sudden change in his energy. Under the city lights, the long-haired girl looks up with a blush on her cheeks and a look of pure wonder in her eyes. She is genuinely impressed by everything that just happened and can hardly find the right words to say. Under the soft glow of the crescent moon, she accepts his hand and tells him that she will be in his care as well. The The two of them stand together as the city lights twinkle far below them, creating a perfect movie-like moment on the school roof. Jin Young turns a deep shade of red, staring up at her with a look of pure adoration and disbelief that she actually said yes. She gazes out at the city lights, lost in her own thoughts for a brief moment as the wind blows through her hair. Our ghostly helper is chilling with a glass of wine, looking quite dapper in his fancy vampire costume. He settles into his seat and crosses his legs, clearly enjoying the little drama unfolding before him. He admits with a smirk that he's doing all of this for the sake of someone else. Back on the roof, Jin Young and his lady friend share a beautiful dance under the stars. It's the kind of cheesy romance you only see in movies. A classic rom-com move right here, everyone. Eventually, they head back down and walk out of the school together into the quiet night. She brings up something that has been on her mind for a while now, asking if he remembers a specific name from their past. She mentions that she actually still enjoys drawing, which catches Jin Young completely off guard. He had no idea she had any interest in the arts at all. Our boy quickly promises to make it up to her, wanting to support whatever hobby she decides to pursue. She gives him a cute look and says she might give drawing another shot sometime very soon. Jin Young stays behind to reflect on the surprising news, coming to terms with the fact that he actually had no clue about this artistic side of the girl he likes. A close-up of Jin Young's face reveals his absolute shock and confusion as he tries to process what he just heard. Suddenly, she realizes she needs a quick bathroom break and makes a run back toward the dark school building. Jin Young calls out to ask if she will be fine alone in there, but she just waves him off. She's going to be right back. He watches her go with a concerned expression, thinking about how dark and creepy the hallways are at night. Jin Young remembers how easily frightened she used to be, which makes her current behavior even more surprising to him. Our boy cannot help but wonder how she can just waltz into that pitch black hallway all by herself. It seems like a massive change from the girl he once knew. He's actually starting to get a bit worried that something might be off. He stands there contemplating the situation when suddenly a cloud of smoke appears, signaling the arrival of his spectral mentor. The fancy vampire outfit is gone, replaced by a muscle-bound tank top look as our Jimbro ghost gets down to business. He looks like he is ready to give some serious life advice. Jin Young brings up the suspension bridge effect plan they discussed earlier. He is trying to figure out if this is all part of the strategy to make her fall for him. The coach listens intently, while he weighs their options and considers what the best tactical move for the night should be. Inside the restroom, the girl is not exactly looking scared at all. She leans into the mirror and starts fixing her makeup with a very determined look on her face. The real battle prep always happens at the bathroom vanity. She meticulously touches up her lipstick to ensure she looks absolutely perfect before she heads back outside to meet her date. A confident smile plays on her lips as she admires the result. She knows exactly what she is doing and how to play her cards right. Deep within the school, someone is still grinding away in the music room despite how late it is getting. A tall woman with glasses, likely a teacher, steps into the room and tells the student it's time to wrap things up and head home. Practice has clearly been brutal today, as the short-haired girl sits slumped at her piano, completely drained of energy and lost in her own thoughts after hours of repeating the same melodies. Practicing the same notes over and over has clearly taken its toll on her, leaving her feeling totally burnt out and exhausted. The teacher asks what she is, muttering about because she can't hear a single word the student is saying over there. With the night winding down, they finally decide to call it a day and head home. The school buildings dim as they leave the grounds together under the dark sky.